Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank Kayla for that really inspirational presentation. As I look at my Navy and the young people that we've got doing extraordinary things every day in uniform, it's great to see that we've got young people in uniform in our schools that aspire to do great things in support of our defence industry. Gordon introduced the fact that I've been the Chief now for a couple of months, and the really honour for me today is that this is the second time that I've been in Western Australia since I've been the Chief, and on each occasion I've been here to celebrate the relationship between our Navy and Western Australia. Peter Lurson used the term that the RAN is on speaking terms with other navies. I can assure you, Peter, I'm doing my best to keep it that way, because the alternative might be good for defence industry, but it's not so good for my men and women. But my point there is relationships matter. And the relationship between our Navy and Western Australia is a very important one, and one that I'm particularly proud of, as we recently celebrated the 40th anniversary of HMAS Stirling here in Western Australia. So this afternoon I thought I'd take the time to really reflect upon what has been the history of our Navy in Western Australia, where we are currently, and where we are going into the future in terms of the Navy's presence here in Western Australia. And we've all had an opportunity this afternoon to have a little bit of a glimpse of what that's going to look like. The maritime history of Western Australia is clearly an extensive one. When Dirk Hartog first set foot in Western Australia in 1616, he left behind the earliest confirmed archaeological evidence of European settlement in Australia. In 1827, Royal Navy officer Captain James Stirling made the first European exploration of the island now known as Garden Island, and he later returned in 1829 to establish the first European settlement in Western Australia and the first free English colony in Australia. Garden Island is one of the foundation stones of the history of Western Australia and will continue to be integral to our Navy's future. Plans for a Navy base on Australia's western seaboard stretch back as far as 1911, when the commencement of construction of the Henderson Naval Base at Woodsman's Point. Construction was interrupted by the First World War and was eventually abandoned due to the world economic conditions in 1921. On the 1st of November 1914, Australian and New Zealand troops departed in convoy from Kingstown, Albany, initially bound for Europe. There were 38 Australian and 10 New Zealand troop carriers in that first wave, and interestingly, that they were actually escorted by the Japanese battlecruiser Ibuki, which joined the convoy 2 days after it had sailed. The Ibuki actually guarded the convoy when HMAS Sydney famously caught and defeated the Emden in the Battle of the Cocos Islands. When the convoys actually reached Alexandria in Egypt on the 3rd of December, however, for many of the troops who disembarked there, their port call in Albany would have been the last time that they had set foot or in fact seen Australia. The need for a naval base in the West was again recognised during World War II, and a number of Australian ships such as HMAS Sydney II, Fairmile motor yachts and auxiliaries were based in Western Australia at various times. As we've heard earlier today, Fremantle was also the home to a United States Navy submarine base, and Garden Island in Cockburn Sound was used as a training facility for Allied boat sections of the Service's Reconnaissance Department, better known as Z-Force. These were all temporary wartime arrangements. A permanent training establishment called HMAS Cerberus, the 5th, and later renamed HMAS Lewin, was established in Fremantle in 1940. Lewin became home to the junior recruit training establishment, and from 1960 until 1984, graduated over 12,000 young recruits aged between 15 and 3/4 and 16 and a half years of age. In 1966, the federal government proposed a naval support facility on Garden Island. Construction of the 4.2 kilometre causeway was completed in June 1973, and at the time it was the largest building project in Australia. HMAS Stirling, named after Captain James Stirling, was officially commissioned on the 7th in July 1978. Those ships began visiting the facility as early as August 1975. Up to half of our Navy's surface and submarine fleet was to be based permanently in Western Australia. The main fleet base has become known as Fleet Base West. Since its commissioning on the 28th of July 1978, Stirling has expanded enormously within its existing boundaries and has seen buildings such as the Submarine Escape Training Facility, one of only 6 in the world and the only one of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. In the 1980s, our submarine fleet moved its basing from HMAS Platypus in Sydney to HMAS Stirling. Some 12 fleet units, including the Anzac frigate class, the Collins class submarines, and have been based here, along with 70 units, including the Submarine Training Systems Centre, the Australian Clearance Diving Team No. 4, and the Defence Communications Station, Perth. HMAS Stirling's primary purpose is to provide operational and logistics support to our Navy's ships, submarines and aircrafts that are based in Western Australia. Stirling remains the largest single employment site in Western Australia, with approximately 3,000 uniformed personnel, mostly Navy, but also Army and Air Force, and another 500 public service and contractors working there daily. The future is very bright for our Navy in Western Australia and very important to our national endeavour. As stated by Minister Pyne earlier today, 10 of our 12 new offshore patrol vessels will be built by CIVMEC here at Henderson, commencing in 2020. This project is a significant contributor to the national shipbuilding enterprise. It demonstrates an even deeper and ongoing commitment of our defence relationship with Western Australia. Having recently celebrated its 40th anniversary, HMAS Stirling is set for even larger and greater opportunities for engagement with defence industry and the people of Western Australia. Also stated by the Minister for Defence, the basis of the next generation of Stirling's development is to continue to support existing platforms such as the Anzac frigates and submarines. Importantly, Stirling will enhance that support and extend it to the new platforms, the offshore patrol vessels, the replenishment ships, the Hunter-class frigates, and of course the future submarines. The wider context is not just an extension of wharves or increasing scale of what is being done now, but is rather to build upon the base which incorporates technology and best practice across industry and academic institutions. Transforming how the fleet is supported and enabling capability is a key focus for us all. This transformation will also have a very positive impact upon Western Australia. One of my key focuses is for Stirling to provide a range of surface ships and training facilities for our submarines. Changes to technology through the use of virtual reality, simulation and remote learning will further increase the importance of HMAS Stirling and other bases to enable capabilities and integration of important systems, not just US systems, but also French, British, Spanish and German design systems. Those who originally designed HMAS Stirling went far beyond the initial vision. They realised the importance of Stirling and its prime location within Western Australia and an Indian Ocean hub. The importance of Stirling as the West Coast base for a two-coast navy was realised and will be expanded upon. The importance of Stirling as a link to the security in the Indian Ocean has been spoken about this afternoon, and it is the importance of Western Australia to our Navy and our nation. This relationship will continue to grow. Our Navy's footprint here in Western Australia will continue to grow. and the Australian Government's infrastructure commitments to Western Australia are significant. These diagrams before you of HMAS Stirling show the art of the possible. Redevelopment of the landside features, particularly related to domestic support, such as messes, medical, fitness and accommodation facilities, and improved training facilities. These particular images are an artist's impression of the possible options to expand and develop Stirling. In his keynote speech earlier today, Minister Pyne detailed the extensive investment the Australian Government is making in Western Australia. The development of HMAS Stirling is just one example of this investment. It reflects Western Australia's importance to the defence and naval shipbuilding industries. It means more ships can be built and sustained here. The Stirling redevelopment will support the future fleet, a fleet that will support growth, security and stability within Western Australia. It will enable our Navy to continue to fight and win at sea and provide security to our Navy and our nation, ultimately contributing to the current and future security of Australia and the prosperity to the region. I look forward to continuing a strong and prosperous relationship with our Navy and the people and industry of Western Australia. Thank you very much.